Alright guys, for this video I'm going to show you how to do the mosaic part of our Native American Mosaic Project. Now, at this point you probably have started some of these things. You may be further or not as far, but I'm just going to show you one area. So what we've already done, previous lesson, we wrote out our notes for our different cultural region. I did the Seneca of the Eastern Woodlands. I wrote down my notes for what men's work was, and I wrote a descriptive sentence. The Seneca men were the warriors of the tribe. If they prove themselves in battle, they may become a war chief. Okay? Now, after I was done with my entire sheet, all my notes, then I did my rough draft. Now, if I did a rough draft, I'd put each of my different ideas into a different box. Now, I had 5 boxes. Here I have 4, 5, 6, 7. I had to choose my best 5, the 5 I thought I could draw. So I chose the warriors, and I drew the warrior down here, okay? And I put just a background, a generic background, okay? So the main thing is you want one big picture. If you need 3 animals, that was fine too. From there, I then moved to, I got my final copy from Mr. King. The first thing I did on my final copy, and you, again, some of you have already done this, you're already there, okay? I sketched out the design of my different mosaic sections. Then I took my picture here and I put it onto my into that section really big, really large. I also, if you notice, I moved it a little bit. I put it more center instead of over in the corner. It fit just fine, so there you go. Then the next thing I did was I had to write my sentence out. So I took my sentence off my notes page and I wrote it as the border around that section. Okay. Now, if you'll notice, I did add a couple words too. It got to war chief, and war chief stopped right there. I had this whole line that I still had to do. So I just added a little bit. I put, they may become a war chief someday when the tribe needs them. Okay. That way I filled it up. You don't have to fill yours all the way around, but try to get at least the border between the other pieces. That way there's a line between them. All right. From there, here's what I'm going to actually teach you today. I'm going to teach you how you do the mosaic. If you remember the mosaics I showed you, they're all made of little squares, rectangles, shapes. Okay. For this activity, I shaded this in really nicely, took my time, did an outline for my my Native American here, my Seneca warrior. He's going to hopefully pop right off the page. So my goal here is to make squares around him. Now, if you'll notice here, I drew a line. So I think I might do the same thing here. Just sketch a line. I'm not going to draw it really dark. Okay? That way I have ground and I have sky. So when I do those mosaic pieces, I'm going to do sky-colored pieces and ground-colored pieces. Okay? I also want to separate my sentence so I don't accidentally cover my sentence. So go ahead and do this. This is like I'm underlining almost. That way this is divided away from the rest of my mosaic. There you go. And it makes a cool little border. It underlines it. Makes it look like a frame almost. Okay? Now, I'm going to choose a couple different colors here for my sky. So I have a dark blue as well. And then while I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and grab out my... You guys will probably just take turns since you'll be sharing these with other people. All right? So I've got my sky colors and I've got my ground colors. Now, here it's key, if you really want it to look fancy, it's key to make sure you have multiple colors, okay? So that you're taking the time to make it really look good. Take a break on those. We'll start with the sky. So here's my job. I'm going to make squares. Now, because it's sky and ground, I am going to choose, that's just Mr. King, I'm going to choose to just do straight lines straight across. It's also probably the easiest way to do this. Just start in a random spot, or you can start down here where there's a corner. I might do that. Make a box, color it in. Now, the second box, I can choose to use the same color or a different color. I'm going to do the same color a couple times in a row. Make another box. Now, if you'll notice, I left some space between my boxes. Okay? I'm going to put one here. Ooh, that's more purple. Well, okay, I'll put that one back. There, that might be it. Oh, that's violet too. Blue. All right. All right. So now I'll put it on pause here, and I'm gonna do a whole bunch of it. That way you can see what it looks like when I'm done, or as I'm going. All right, guys. So I'm back now. Finished my mosaic, as you can see. I'll zoom in there for you a little bit. All right. So you saw at the beginning when I started with just little squares, right? Well, I did 3 rows of squares all the way across as my base for my sky. And then I figured out, boy, this is taking way too long. So I decided I wanted to make my squares bigger, kind of like some of the mosaics that we saw in the PowerPoint yesterday. And so as I did that, I thought about the sky being layers, horizontal layers. So I did long, skinny pieces. And you notice there's like a parallelogram in there. There's some rectangles, some skinny lines. But I varied the color back and forth so you can really see how the sky looks different. Halfway up, I said, you know what? I need a sun to show that this is daytime. So I made a sun out of yellow and orange, made some triangles. And as you see around the edges, I kind of formed the blocks curved on the edges so that they fit into these spaces. I also made my spaces between the blocks bigger as I went, which then uses up more space. When I got done with the whole sky and sun, then I changed, I went down to the grass, and I said, you know what? I need a different shape. So I thought, grass is pointy, so I did triangles. And again, I had 4 different colors of green, kind of a yellowish green there, to make the grass. And it looked great. It took a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, but it looks wonderful when you're done. So this is what you guys are going to try to do for us on the mosaics. And for my class, I don't know about the other classes, but for my class, we'll probably, if everybody's working hard and doing a good job, we might even take an extra day to really make it good, since this is kind of like your guys' test for this section. So good luck to you, and can't wait to see how you guys do yours.